Hello men and gentle ladies, and welcome back to Surviving the Whiteout, where today we are talking about the Research Centre. Now, if you are a particularly new player in the game, this is going to be slightly more pertinent to you. If you've been playing for a long time, chances are you've already done a lot of this research anyway. But I thought in this video that I would give you a brief look into what I prioritise upgrading, what I think are the best things to focus on first, and certain things that can be left until later. I'm going to show you on an account that I created fairly recently. I'm in state 4152 here. I've only just started with a couple of friends who have recently started playing the game. So I'm fairly new. I think I'm only level 21 or furnace level 21 at the moment. So I'll show you what I've been prioritizing at this point early on in the game and see how it compares to you. So the Research Centre itself has three different tabs: growth, economy, and battle. And I would say without any question, the priority at the start of the game is growth. Now, there are many different things that growth covers. The first one being tooling up, which increases or enhances your construction speed. And then after that, we have a ward expansion, which increases your infirmary capacity. And then camp expansion, which improves your training capacity. But my personal advice is to get all of these to one to focus on the fourth one, which is tool enhancement. Now, tooling up improves your research speed, which is going to give you huge value over time. You're going to be researching for so much of this game. I mean, on my other account, I'm now over a year in, and I'm still not even close to finishing my research center. So any chance you have to increase your research speed is going to save you a lot of time in the long run. So my advice straight away is to get these first three to level 1 and then max tool enhancement to level 3 as soon as you can. Now, if you're early on in the game, particularly if you're furnace level 6 or 7, I can't remember when this exactly unlocks, but you won't be able to get too far because it will be locked. If we go slightly further down to something that I haven't unlocked yet, let's go for this tool enhancement 6. You'll see that I need a research center. Can't say research center. Research center. That is level 26. I'm currently level 21, so I can't do that. So there will become a point where you get stuck and you can't go any further. But my advice is, particularly with the tool enhancement, get it as far as you can, as quickly as you can. What I would then prioritize maxing and getting to level 3 would be the tooling up, which then enhances your construction speed. Now, early on in the game, you're going to be doing construction every single day. You're going to be doing construction all the time until all of your buildings are level 30, which takes a month, takes a couple of months. So this becomes invaluable in the early game. But even if you are past level 30 and you're now in the Fire Crystal Age, you're still going to be doing construction over time. So just get this maxed as quickly as you can. So they are my first two immediate priorities. Once I get to a point where I can't upgrade them any further, then I'll begin to work on other things. But as long as I can work on tool enhancement and tooling up, I'm getting them done as soon as possible. The next most important one to max on this tab, which I think only has one upgrade, so most of these you have to do 3 times. You can see with the bandaging, I've currently done 1 out of 3. Most of them are 3, but I believe command tactics is just 1. And this becomes your next most important one because it gives you an extra march queue. Now, early on in the game, you are going to struggle for march queues unless you rush to VIP level 6, which you're not going to be doing unless you're spending a lot of money. You're going to need these march queues as soon as possible. So you can get one fairly early on with command tactics, and then a little bit later on with command tactics 2. There is another one later on which gives you command tactics 3, which gives you an extra 3 marches. This is invaluable, particularly when you need to gather. There are 4 different types of resources to gather on the map. If you only have 3 marches, then you're only going to be gathering 3 of those resources, and then you're not going to have any troops left to auto-join rallies. So the more marches you get, the quicker you can progress, the quicker you get more resources, the quicker you get more rewards from joining rallies, and the better you'll become. Then the priority after that for me is everything on the right-hand side. So we have camp expansion and training tools. So camp expansion increases the number of troops that can be trained at a single time, so you're going to get more troops quicker. And then the next one is enhancing the training speed of troops. So again, you're going to get more troops quicker. And early on in the game, you're going to struggle for troops. You're not going to have enough to send out full marches in every single one of your march. So the quicker you can upgrade your troops and train more, the better. So the next 2 on here are ward expansion, which increases the infirmary capacity. And the next one is bandaging, which enhances the healing speed of wounded soldiers. These are important, and these are definitely things you do want to work on. I would just argue the others are slightly more important. Early on in the game especially, you're not going to be doing that much attacking unless you're people who just go out and burn any city because you like to do that. If you're early on in the game, don't go around looking for people to burn because it's just not worth it. You're going to be getting a tiny amount of resources and also losing some troops, and you're going to have to spend the resources you just won to get the troops back. It's pointless. So early on in the game, I wouldn't prioritize those two just because you shouldn't have to do that much healing. You will once you have to do facility battles and fortress battles. I get that, and it still is important, but I would prioritize the other ones first. So my overall advice on the growth tab is to focus first on tool enhancement to get your research speed up as quickly as possible, then tooling up to get your construction done as quickly as possible, then all of the command tactics to get your extra marches, then the training troop ones, so camp expansion and trainer tools to get all of your troops done quicker. And then I would move over to the other tabs. Now, the economy tab is very important early game because you're going to need a lot of resources. Every time you build a building, every time you train troops, anytime you do research, you're going to be desperate for resources. My advice would be to work on the output ones first because they are what increase the production within your city, so those buildings you already have. Gathering is especially important if you are gathering on the map. If it's too early for you to send out too many troops to gather, it's slightly less of a priority. But once you get enough marches to gather consistently on the map, then these do become very important. So definitely do work on these over time. You're able to get resources when you do. You're able to get resources when you do particularly well in things like bear traps. So there are other ways to get resources. This is still very important and don't neglect it. But I would prioritize other things first. Now, the battle tab is something that... Why have I not done that top one? Why on earth have I not done that top one? All right, well, I've missed that. Silly me, because that only takes 8 minutes, so that was an absolute mistake. But the battle tab is going to be the one that you're going to spend the most time on because there's so much research to do. Again, I'm a year in and I'm probably not even 2/3 of the way through. But similar to growth, the most important ones are the ones that are central. So we saw on the growth tab, the 3 that I recommended, so command tactics, tooling up and tool enhancement, were all in the middle on their own. Similar to that, I would prioritize the ones in the middle on their own as well. So the top one boosts all troops attack. It's incredibly important. You're going to need that early on. That's going to give you a great boost when you're fighting for facilities, when you're in bear trap and you want to increase your scores. It's going to become incredibly useful. So any chance to enhance your troops attack, you should absolutely take. The next one, which is on its own, is boosting your troops defense. Again, equally important, just for slightly different reasons. So any chance you can boost all of the defense and all of the attack of all of your troops, definitely take that and definitely prioritize that. So I would encourage you to get that one done as soon as possible. And then you have lines where there are only 2 rather than 3. And again, I would make these your next priority because the survival techniques boosts the health of all your troops and the assault techniques boosts the lethality of all your troops. Now, again, these are all important because they're boosting it for every single troop type. They're not just focusing on one troop type, they're boosting it for everything. So this is incredibly important. Anything that boosts all of your troops' attack, defense, lethality, or health, get it done as soon as possible. Then a little bit of nuance comes in for the lines of 3, because the first line of 3 will boost attack and the second line will boost defense. But for different troop types, you prioritize different things. So I've spoken about it in some of my previous videos, in my gear video and also my bear trap video. For infantry, you want to focus on health and defense. And for marksmen and lancers, you want to focus on attack and lethality. So what I personally do in these situations, you can see I've got the infantry attack up to level 2. That's just because my research center got locked at a certain level, so I couldn't go any further. So I had to go back and work on other pieces that I'd missed. But you can see that I've prioritized the marksman attack and the lancer attack because that is what those troop types mostly focus on. And then on the line underneath that's all about defense, I've maxed the infantry and I've only got the other ones to level 1. The reason you get things to level 1 is so that you can then unlock the next line. So by getting everything to at least level 1, I could then start working on the special defensive training. So those 2 lines of 3 work on attack and defense. And if we go down, the next 3 work on lethality and health. And again, it's a very similar principle. I've got the infantry one to level 1. I've got the marksman and lancer ones maxed to 3 for lethality. And then underneath, when it comes down to health, I've got the infantry ones maxed and the lancer and marksman ones to level 1 so that I can unlock weapons prep 2. And this is my priority all the way down. You'll see it's what I've done on every single level. And I do this so that early game, I know that my infantry are my wall. I know they're strong, I know they're an absolute defensive beast, and I know my lancers and marksmen are going to do the most attack possible. I'm going to go back and work on these because we still want infantry to have good attack. We still want lancers and marksmen to have decent health. Now, we did actually miss out one already, which is this regimental expansion. This is, again, another central one. So like the one that boosts all troops attack and all troops defense, I would again work on this central one. So the regimental expansion increases your deployment capacity so you can send out more troops in each expedition. This one takes a little bit of nuance again because I don't have a lot of troops on this account. I don't have enough to send out 5 full marches. I barely have enough to send out 1 full march. So for me, it wasn't an absolute priority. If you're training troops like there's no tomorrow and you've got loads of troops and you can send out multiple big marches, then definitely work on this. And I absolutely encourage people to work on this over time and get this done quickly. I would only start focusing on it when you know that you need that extra space. So overall, my advice for this page is to work on the central pieces that give you all troop attack, all troop defense, all troop health, and all troop lethality. Those should be your immediate priority. And then go through and work on anything that gives defense and health to infantry and anything that gives attack and lethality to marksmen. Then also work on this regimental expansion to get your army size slightly bigger so that you can send more out in each wave, in each attack. And then once you get to a certain level where you can't do any research further, again, we go slightly further down. We click here. I can't do it until my research center is level 24. So once you get to a point where you're locked, you can then start going back and working on those pieces. So for me, I started working on the regimental expansions once I got to a level where I couldn't go any further, and that's when I prioritized them. Other people will want to prioritize it earlier. It's up to you. It's up to you to decide what's best for your account. But this is the way that I did it in my first account and how I'm doing it in my second account. Now, if you've already gone through your research and you've already done health and defense for lancers and marksmen, and you've already done attack and lethality for infantry, it's not a problem. You're still going to be working on these over time. So by doing it that way, you haven't lost anything. You haven't made a mistake. But from now on, I would just argue that you should prioritize that research that is going to give you the best boosts for infantry and the best boosts for lancers and for marksmen. So to quickly do a run through of what I prioritize in order, see if I can get this all right. I'm definitely going to make a mistake here, but I would immediately focus on tool enhancement to get your research speed up. I would then work on tooling up to get your construction speed up. I would then work on command tactics to get as many marches as possible. I would then work on camp expansion and trainer tools to be able to get as many troops as I can as early as I can. I would get ward expansion and bandaging to level 1 so that I can keep working on the later levels. I would then get economy to a decent enough level where I've worked on at least a few so that I know my output in my city is going to be strong enough and I'm going to be gathering a little bit more efficiently. Once I've got that to a somewhat decent level, it doesn't need to be all the way. As you can see, I haven't worked on mine half as much. But once you get it to a decent spot, I would then move over to battle. At that point, work on anything that gives boosts to all your troops in attack, defense, lethality, and health. Once I've done that, work on things that give defense and health to infantry, attack and lethality to marksmen, and then work on regimental expansion. If you want to do regimental expansion earlier, absolutely fine. There's no issue doing these in slightly different order, but that's personally what I would prioritize and what I would work on. Now, by doing this, on this particular account, I am somewhat free to play. I've spent money on a cheap construction pack and a march pack, so I've not really spent that much on this account. So if we look at the power rankings, you know, I'm 12th. I'm at a decent enough level just because I know the best ways to prioritize, but there are people in this game that have spent more than me and put more money into the game and slightly more effort into the game. But then we go and look at something like Bear Trap, and despite not being the strongest player in power, I can score the highest. And it's in no way me showing off and being like, oh, look how good I am, because I'm not as good as half of these players. These players have achieved more in this game to this point than I have, but I've simply made sure that I've put the right focus into the right areas. By only working on attack and lethality for marksmen and lancers rather than infantry, I'm not wasting time researching things that aren't going to impact my game this early on. So that's it. That's a little whistle-stop tour to the research center. If you are new to the game, I would encourage you to follow a similar path. You may want to do things in a slightly different order, and that's absolutely fine. Whatever you prioritize, it's completely your choice. That's just the way that I've done it and the way that I found a little bit of success. And if you are later in the game and you've researched all of this stuff already and you're way further than I am, hopefully you followed a similar path. If not, then please do leave a comment with anything that you learned from your time in the game, something that you prioritized or didn't prioritize and saw a big difference by doing that or not doing that. So yeah, let me know below what your priorities are in your research, whether you think that I've done something slightly wrong or there's a way that I can slightly improve by the order that I've done things, because I'm still early on in this account. I'm only furnace level 21, so I've still got a long way to go. So if you do have any advice of how you think I should do my research slightly better, do let me know and help me get a little bit stronger. So if you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll post more content like this in the coming future. We'll have more content on bear trap, things like Crazy Joe, and other ways in which to get more out of your account early on in the game. So thank you very much for watching. Go out there and survive the whiteout, and I'll see you real soon. Peace.